Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is your boy Dealer Destro, back with another Transformers video from Power of the Primes. And for this video, I'm going to take a look at Grimlock, the Dinobot leader. So, lots of interesting things shaping out in the Power of the Primes lineup thus far, in my opinion. What I find interesting is that he's a leader of a sub-team, yet he's not a leader class figure. He's a Voyager class, which is a little disappointing, to say the least. What I will say is that his box art looks fantastic. And then on the side of the packaging, you get a glimpse at a new feature of this sub-team. So up until now, they have been sort of the standalone mercenary special ops unit for the Autobots. They're still that in every way. However, now Grimlock comes with this thing called the Dinobot Enigma, and maybe that's the source of what allows them to become, what's his name? Volcanicus, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what the name is. At least that's what it was when I was playing the was it the Earth Wars, I think. Anyway, so the fact that his sub-team is slated to take on Predaking, and Predaking is being presented as this series Titans class figure, I'm a little taken back. Like, in my opinion, right off the bat, he should have been a leader class. His underlings, his 4 direct reports, his soldiers, whatever you want to call them, they should have been all this class. And that would have been fine. That really would have been fine for me. I would have ponied up the extra, difference between the price point in amassing this unit, because I mean, if getting right in here, looking at the figure, clearly there are several nods to his G1 counterpart all around, even to include, some of the retro decaling from the G1, which I think look like on these guys, I think it looks good. I also like that they have like little paint accents. Right off the bat, his claws are too short. I don't know if that's a safety thing or not. But they should have been. These should have come out just like a little bit, maybe like another 1/4 inch or so. Would have been good. This is casted plastic, and then I want to say this piece right here is painted in a gloss finish red. And again, you've got more of the retro decaling going on, which again, I think for this particular group works fine. Impressive head sculpt. I'll give it that. Impressive head sculpt. Nails the essence of the character. And I guess objectively speaking, putting my bias aside, you could argue that also, that also kind of brings home the essence of the figure in its core, all the way down to, even having him have the shortened version of the wings here, I guess. And then back here, you've got what I believe is the waist piece for Volcanicus, and then here is a glimpse at the head of the combined unit right there. So, all in all, I say that looks okay. It does look like mine has some paint issues there in the visor, unless that's a sticker. I can't tell right now from here. But not important, because I don't know that I'm buying these to display in combined mode. I mean, I think it's cool that you can do that with these guys, which is okay. So I guess getting into it, one thing I noticed on mine off the bat is, you hear that? So they did a really good job of ratcheting the shoulder here, but on mine, right here is still, the ratchet catches on the way down, not on the way up. And I'm not sure there's a way to fix that. Because as I'm watching this one, and then I'm watching this one, there appears to be, it's the same thing's moving. I'm not sure if it's just this isn't catching, but it is catching on the way back. So yeah, so there's that. And here you have that feels like a tampoed Autobot logo on there, and that looks nice. And they really did a good job because this thing splits in half to form the dinosaur mode. The legs, soft ratchets, and that it feels good. It feels good here. I just don't know what happened here, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, and it's even ratcheted out too, so they probably had to do that so this thing could hold together in combined mode, which is going to be interesting because I'll post a video of how this is faring, because you see here how it's, and then here how it's, so yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I don't know if there's a way to fix that or not, but all in all, ooh, the knees are ratcheted too. Would you look at that? Man, that feels, it feels, the ratchets on this thing feel good. Oh, and there it is. So maybe a tolerance thing. I probably just have to loosen up a screw because, boy, that feels tight. So yeah, I'll loosen down that screw and see what's what after that's been done. So yeah, so the head has good range of motion. You can get him looking a little up. There's not really any downward motion on it, but that's cool. I'm okay with that. The elbows, he's got this. It's just the whoop all the way around, so that it works. It works very well. This thing kind of has a tendency to come untabbed. One thing to note too, I do appreciate that this is painted and not that vac metal finish, and there might be mixed opinions on that, but that vac metal gold has a tendency to not withstand the test of time. Buddy of mine told me that his Fans Toys Dinobots were flaking, so he opted to get out of the game per se. You do get a bit of a waist. Oh no, you get a full waist joint there, which is good. The feet are a little wonky. You've got this bit, and I understand why, but they could have maybe done something like they did with the other combiners to kind of hide this. This is a bit of an eyesore. And then looking out from the front, you see that this is supposed to be the front of the foot, and I think they could have come out, you know, there's area of opportunity here. That's the correct way to say that, I guess. Same thing on this side. And I see what they did. The tail serves as sort of the heel spur to you know, round it out a bit. But again, I think that this could have been done just a little bit like further out, like not even by much too. So yeah. So Grimlock's he's one of my favorite Transformers. Just because I have fond memories of this toy as a child. And I guess we'll just try to get the process started here. I haven't transformed him yet, but I'm assuming if it's anything like previous versions, this, or the Masterpiece, I guess this will come down, right? Maybe, yeah. Okay, that'll come down. And then, so this series likes tabs. So I'm guessing that this tabs together. These fold like this, and this looks like, I can't tell what's so from looking at the box, it looks like this is the top, which is kind of a shame because usually this is the back piece, and the legs would open and it would, you know, collapse on itself. And I guess the reason they can't do that is because of this whole combining gimmick here, but I don't, this can't be right. So this comes down, and then there's, okay, yep, that tabs in right there. That tabs in on that side, and then it should be lined up front. Okay, that is the case. So I'm guessing that the forearms serve as the, yep, and it does. And it looks like that it does. Oh boy. This is all too familiar right here. And then bring this up and over. And then the Volcanicus head, of course, wants to pop out. Yep, okay, that, all right. Okay. I think that's right. I don't want to break anything. Maybe it does this. Maybe this. There we go. Okay. That looks a little bit better, but I am not sure. I am not quite sure how I feel about this. So let's turn that back around, and then I guess let's, yeah, great googly moogly. So wow, this can't be, I had to have done something wrong, because that just doesn't, so that's his whole upper half. Hold that pose, and then that's his, yeah, this thing is extremely disproportioned, and that's really unfortunate. And I don't know, maybe I did something wrong. I'm hoping that is the case, but that's not, I don't see any more room for movement, collapsing anything. So this mode kind of leaves a lot, there's still a lot here that I'm wanting out of this, and I get it, it's a combiner leader, blah blah blah, but here's what I will say. From here up, fantastic. This is a problem, and that just looks ridiculous. It really does. So if you wanted to give him his sort of aggressive, like, I'm hunched over and I'm looking up stance, you could do that, but it's still, this still looks like it has far too much heft, and I think the combine mode makes this thing suffer in its alt mode, which is unfortunate, because this is one of those weird cases where you buy this one more for the alt mode than you do the robot mode, even though the robot mode has a I'm not going to say for this outing, but in past outings, in prior iterations of this character, the robot mode had heft, and then, or maybe the robot mode had girth, and the alt mode had heft and girth. I'm not sure I like this. And again, it's from here back is where this thing kind of falls apart for me. This looks great, especially, you know, the decal look, the decal look here. Like, again, that retro decal approach, I think, works well for this particular subgroup because they had that. And again, even here, this looks disproportionate to this, and this doesn't have a good. Okay, the flow is good till about right here, and then it sort of just kind of falls apart from there. I mean, why is this calf huge? I get it, it's a combiner, but did it have to be? Did this sub team have to combine to face Predaking? And I would say the answer is no. They would not have. If they would have just upped their game, made him a leader class figure, and I didn't even notice, but he has the Autobot decal here as opposed to here, which is another, and they couldn't even put it on right at the factory. You see that? You see how it's crooked? Yeah, so this is the first figure in this line that I'm slightly annoyed with. Just because Grimlock is one of those figures that's like near and dear to a lot, and this is kind of what we get. Like this really should have been a leader class figure. It really should have been a leader class figure, because then you would have had more areas to sort of flush out, like the combiner ports, this ridiculous looking tail. They could have probably engineered where this wasn't his back. Like, this is, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to go and get him turned back into robot mode. We'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up. Oh, and just real quick, before I forget, so this is how we're looking as far as shaping up with these guys here. So that's how this is coming along so far. Man, again, I'm gonna try and hold back like what I think the overall set's gonna be, but I really think that these guys are gonna suffer as a result of him being scaled down to a Voyager, and these being scaled down to whatever the class is below them. So that's all. Okay, so here he is geared up, and I forgot to mention that instead of his signature sword and gun, he comes with prime armor. And it's just one of those things that I don't know that this probably looked good on paper, but when the rubber hit the road, I mean, this is a little obnoxious that you got this peg hanging out here. I mean, it's cool that, you can have these, you can really power this guy up, because you got a slot here, and I imagine probably his hands will have slots too, given the way that this trend is going, and you could really, pump this dude up. I don't know. I got mixed feelings on this one, because Grimlock is just one of those signature characters that's near and dear to a lot of the fans. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but for those that know me, know that I'm a G.I. Joe guy first and foremost. But I didn't start out as a G.I. Joe guy. I started out as a Transformers kid, and then I just mom's brought home some G.I. Joe stuff one day, and I just was like, wow, the playability factor on G.I. Joe was way higher than it was on Transformers back in the day. But the Dinobots were one of those sub teams that are near and dear to me, and to kind of see it represented in this, like, there's there's some cool stuff going on here. The vintage stickers are a nice nod to the G1 era, all right? But the fact that, like, this whole thing forms the tail and not his, because, like, this should have been his back, and then the tail mechanism. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this should have been a leader class figure, and then there's a lot of reasons why this should have been a Voyager class figure. And as the set kind of plays out, we'll see why. But I think they nailed the dino head. I love the fact that they went with the red eyes instead of the blue eyes to keep it more true to the, to the comic book. Because me, first and foremost, my Dinobots, all of them, even Swoop, have red eyes in both modes. I'm not too particular on whether or not Swoop's chest is blue or red. That doesn't really, my OCD doesn't go off on that. But when you have the Dinobots in full group shot, they were the only Autobots that had red eyes. So I appreciate that they went with that here. Looking at the figure from the side, he looks good. Robot mode, there's not really much to complain about in robot mode, aside from the feet and then the fact that, these are a little too short for what they should be. Outside of that, I mean, robot mode, you get the essence of the character. I mean, the character's probably represented best in robot mode, and then his upper half is represented very well in dino mode. But again, unfortunately with this outing, I don't know that this is the set that you're going to buy to keep these in dinosaur mode. I really don't. Just because of how it's shaping out. I mean, I've looked at Grimlock now. I have Slag. I have Swoop. I haven't opened Swoop yet, but just from what I've seen from Grimlock and Slag, I mean, like I said, the head sculpts are on point. The throwbacks to the G1 sort of era are there. It's just I don't necessarily think that making this group a combiner for this outing and utilizing the scale that they did was the right way to go about representing the set for this figure lineup. So that's kind of where my head's at. I'm sure there's some folks out there that probably don't agree with that, and that's fine. At the end of the day, it's your money, your collection. Do what's gonna make you happy. I'll just say it right now. I'm going to finish the set out. I have to. I think at this point I'm just too vested in the figure lineup as of right now. I've bought too many of them, and I think this is where I'm starting to kind of see the struggles of doing business this way, I guess. And what I mean by that is buying mass released figures. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so I'll get off my soapbox now. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Till next time, I hope y'all take care, and we'll see you on the next go round. Thanks a lot.